Good day, everyone. Again, this is Teacher June. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell para ma-update kayo sa mga susunod pa nating tutorial videos. In our previous lesson or in our previous discussion, we have discussed about triangle congruence postulates. We are done with SSS congruence postulate, SAS congruence postulate, and ASA congruence postulate. We are now down to AAS Congruence Theorem and HL Congruence Postulate. AAS Congruence Theorem or AAS Theorem. Ano nga ba itong AAS Theorem? As we can see, AAS stands for angle, angle, side. Samantala, we also have HL Congruence Postulate. HL stands for hypotenuse and leg. Ano ba ang pinagkaiba ng theorem kay postulate? What's the difference between theorem and postulate? When we say postulate, it is accepted to be true without any proof. However, yung theorem ay kailangan pang i-prove para ma-accept na ito ay true. So we have here AAS Congruence Theorem and HL Congruence Postulate. And for us to be able to understand this better, let us read the first one. We have AAS Congruence Theorem. If two angles and a non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles and a non-included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. Remember, in our previous discussion, we have learned about ASA, congruence postulate, wherein S is in between two angles, meaning we have S in between two A's. Ibig sabihin, yung side doon na nasa gitna ng dalawang angles is actually considered to be an included side. Pero in this case, wala tayong tinatawag na included side because yung location or yung position ng side is not in between two angles. So, ganun lang po siya. Ibig sabihin, if we have two angles and a non-included side on the first triangle, and those two angles and non-included side of the first triangle is congruent to the two angles and a non-included side of another triangle, therefore those two triangles are congruent. Okay, so let's take a look at this illustration. Suppose we have two triangles here. The first triangle is named triangle ABC, while the second triangle is named triangle DEF. We have triangle ABC, A, B, C. And we also have triangle DEF, D, E, F. Take note, kung paano natin pinangalanan yung first triangle should also be the manner or the way on how we name the second triangle. Okay, so as we can see in the figures, we have here three pairs of corresponding parts that are marked. And what are those parts? Let us first have the first triangle, triangle ABC. The first part of this triangle that is marked is angle C. Angle C, ito po yung angle C. And then followed by angle B. So angle B is also marked, meaning angle, angle, and the last part is side AB. So in this illustration, we have angle, angle, sides. Those three parts of this triangle are marked congruent to its corresponding parts on the second triangle. Okay, so as we can see, we have here angle C and angle F. are corresponding angles. Angle B corresponds to angle E, while side AB corresponds to side DE. So therefore, we can say that these two triangles here are congruent based on angle, side congruence theorem. Okay, so let's give the three statements that would prove that the two triangles are congruent based on AAS Congruence Theorem. First angle, we have angle C corresponds to angle F, or we can say angle C is congruent to angle F. Next is angle B corresponds to angle E, or angle B is congruent to angle E. And finally, we have side AB corresponds to side DE. Therefore, we can say that side AB is congruent to side DE. So we have three statements here saying that two pairs of corresponding angles and a pair of non-included side are congruent. Therefore, we can say that the two triangles, triangle ABC and triangle DEF, are congruent. In conclusion, we have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. By what means we have proven that the two triangles are congruent? By AAS Congruence Theorem, or by AAS Theorem. And by the way, this side AB and side DE on these two triangles here are not actually included sides. They are not included sides because they are not in between two angles that are marked. Remember our previous lesson about ASA? The side that is marked is this side here and this side on the second triangle. Those two sides are included sides because they are in between two angles. But in this case, under AAS congruence theorem, we only need two pairs of corresponding angles and a non-included side. Okay, so let's proceed to our next postulate. We have HL congruence postulate. Ano nga ba ibig sabihin ng H at saka ng L? When we say H, it stands for hypotenuse. When we say L, it stands for leg. So meaning in this case, we only need to consider two parts or two corresponding parts between two triangles to prove that the two triangles are congruent. Unlike the previous postulates, we need to prove three corresponding parts to be congruent. And one thing more, ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin ng hypotenuse? When we say hypotenuse, it is the longest side of a right triangle. So meaning what we are going to take into considerations here are right triangles. So we can conclude that HL congruence postulate is therefore used in comparing two right triangles. If the hypotenuse and one leg of a right triangle is congruent to the corresponding hypotenuse and one leg of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. Ibig sabihin, kapag yung longest side or yung hypotenuse ng first triangle and one more leg of the first triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse of the second triangle and one more leg of the second triangle. Therefore, those two right triangles are congruent. Again, let me emphasize that HL congruence postulate is only used to prove congruence between two right triangle. When we say right triangle, one angle of the triangle should be 90 degrees. Okay, so let's proceed to this example. Suppose we have here two triangles, triangle QRS and triangle TUV. We have QRS and TUV. By simply looking at these two triangles, we know that these two triangles are really right triangles. How did we know that the two triangles are right triangles? Because of this mark here. This symbolizes that the two triangles are right triangles, meaning this angle here is 90 degrees and also this angle here is 90 degrees. Okay, suppose we have two marks on these two triangles. The first side that is marked on the first triangle is the longest side. This longest side here is what we call the hypotenuse of the triangle. On the second triangle, side TV is the longest side of the triangle, or it is what we call the hypotenuse of the triangle. So we already have identified the hypotenuse of the two triangles. How about L? What do you mean by L? We only need to consider one leg of the triangle. And these are the two legs, QR and RS. But since we only need one leg, so this part here is marked. And its corresponding part on the second triangle is this side here. Okay, so therefore we have hypotenuse and one leg, HL. In the same manner, hypotenuse and one leg, or HL. So therefore, we can say that these two triangles here are congruent based on HL congruence postulate. Paano natin nasabi na yung dalawang triangle na ito are congruent? First, we need to take a look at the right angles. So we are sure that the two triangles are right triangles. And since hypotenuse and one leg of the first triangle corresponds to the hypotenuse and one leg of the second triangle, meaning those two corresponding parts are congruent, therefore we can say that the two triangles are congruent. What is the first condition? First, triangle QRS and triangle TUV are right triangles. Because if they are not, we don't need to use HL congruence postulate in proving that the two triangles are congruent. Okay, so since the two triangles are congruent, we can now give statements about the two corresponding parts that are congruent, which are HL. What is the hypotenuse of the first triangle? The hypotenuse of the first triangle is side QS, and on the second triangle, we have side TV. Therefore, side QS corresponds to side TV, or we can say that side QS is congruent to side TV. How about on one leg? We have side RS corresponds to side UV, or simply we can say that side RS is congruent to side UV. So we have here two statements saying that the pair of hypotenuse and the pair of one leg of two right triangles are congruent. Therefore, we can say that triangle QRS is congruent to triangle TUV. By what means we have proven that the two right triangles are congruent? By HL congruence postulate. Okay, so that would be all for today. Again, God bless everyone and good day.